Everyone assumed she was just an ordinary kid in a kindergarten class, crying when she wanted to be held, needing to be coaxed when she was hungry. But no one knew his true identity. She was, in fact, she rarest of them all, an S-rank awakener, whose casually crafted healing potions could sell for astronomical prices. This was a world where awakeners and systems had existed for over 10 years. Hunting monsters was Tishi duty and livelihood of every awakener. At that moment, a hunter lay on the verge of death after an encounter in a dungeon. A stuffed bear riding a children's tricycle suddenly appeared. Would you like to purchase this intermediate healing potion? Tishi plain bitter flavor is 11.89 million won, and Tishi sweet strawberry syrup flavor is 19.99 million won. These are Tishi promotional prices for new customers. Prices were steep, but they were still cheaper than requesting aid from Tishi Management Bureau. So Chi-man decided to buy one bitter potion. Tishi stuffed bear then produced a contract. Currently, only onion points are accepted as payment. If you agree, please sign Tishi contract. After Tishi man signed, Tishi bear handed over Tishi potion. If you're satisfied, please remember to leave a 5-star review. I'll throw in a bonus strength attribute candy as a thank you. Later, Tishi man posted about Tishi incident on a hunter forum, and it caused quite a stir. People speculated that this healing potion was at least Tishi work of a B-rank crafter. Meanwhile, a payment notification pinged on a phone. Hankoru, hasn't Tishi teacher said no phones during class? She girl apologized and tucked Tishi phone back into her bag. She returned to Tishi group and danced with Tishi other children, thinking she would deliver Tishi bonus candy after class. No one could have imagined that a kindergartner already possessed S-rank crafting abilities. It all started a few days ago when Hankoru was brushing his teeth, and a system panel suddenly popped up in front of him. She wanted to tell Tishi teacher, but she was busy dealing with another student who needed Tishi bathroom. Koru figured she was already 4 years old and could handle things himself. By nap time, she found Tishi system had finished updating. All sorts of crafting skills appeared before his eyes. She saw she skill grade marked D but didn't understand what it meant since he'd only learned ABCD so far. Tishi system detected that Tishi host was underage, so it automatically triggered a minor protection protocol. Koru's first quest was to register a guardian. A guardian means a mom or a dad. Does Tishi system need me to have a guardian because Koru doesn't have a mom or dad? Koru knew there were only 2 ways to find his parents. One was to be adopted by a new family, but that wasn't something she could make happen on his own. The other was to wait for his parents to come back. Koru had once seen a case where a parent came to pick up a child and explained they had been forced by difficult circumstances. She guessed his own parents might be in the same situation, which was why she wanted to earn money. If she became a hunter and earned enough, she could live with his mom and dad. She burrowed under Tishi covers and got to work on it. Teacher walked over. Koru, why aren't you sleeping yet? If you really can't sleep, Tishi teacher can sing you a lullaby. Although Koru didn't want to sleep and still had a lot to think about, she ultimately fell into battle against Tishi Lullaby's mental attack. A few days later, Koru received devastating news from his teacher. Converting onion points to cash required a bank account, but Koru was too young to open one. Tishi reason he'd been using onion payments in Tishi first place was because she didn't have a hunter's license. Now, with tens of millions of points locked in his wallet, Koru felt like his world had come crashing down. Just then, a hunter special program came on television. Koru crawled over to watch. Tishi featured guest was Wen Julin, Tishi chairman of Tishi Nation's premier guild, Strings. She was also currently ranked as Tishi World's #1 hunter. She host's opening question was sharp. She Strings Guild is known for always being at Tishi center of incidents. This has led many people to view guild members who push boundaries with hostility. What are Chi Chairman's thoughts on this? Chi Strings Guild simply respects and protects Chi freedom of its members. For questions unrelated to my duties, that's all I can say. As for whether Strings has overstepped its bounds, you should ask Chi courts, not me. That response left Chi program staff speechless. But Koru was captivated by Tishi Strings Guild. Freedom and protection were exactly what she needed. If Tishi Guild could help handle problems that individuals couldn't solve, then surely they could help him open an account. With that in mind, Koru pointed at Chi TV. Teacher, I'd like to know how to get to this place. Next day, Wenjelin was handling paperwork in his office when she noticed a small child silently staring at him from Chi doorway for about 10 minutes. Thinking it was an employee's kid, she turned to Tishi person beside him. Hunter Shin Naeon, have you been secretly raising a child behind my back? I was about to ask, when did Tishi chairman become a father? Judging by how Tishi child is looking at you, could this be Tishi result of Tishi chairman falling deeply in love with someone? In Tishi end, when Julin let Koru in. Koru led with a self-introduction. I'm Han Koru from class 7 at Shinchun Kindergarten. Never mind that. How did you get in here? Recalling Tishi infiltration process, Koru wiped his forehead. It took me quite a lot of effort. When Jilin assumed Tishi child was looking for his parents and picked up Tishi phone to make an announcement, Koru hurried to stop him. I'm here to see you. Chairman, please recruit Koru into Tishi Guild. When Jilin froze. While children aspiring to be hunters had found their way to Tishi Guild before, Koru was by far Tishi youngest. When Jilin picked up Tishi phone with a faint smile, and several staff members rushed in to escort Koru out, just when she thought Koru wouldn't return. Tishi very next day, when Jilin woke up from his afternoon nap to find Han Koru at his desk, reading a self-prepared resume. I may be young, but I'm an awakener. I'm a talent who shares Chi same ideals as Chi chairman. Through TSC system, I can perform at an intellectual level beyond my age. Shin Nayeon was even clapping for Koru on Tishi side. When Julin was not amused. When did his office become a kindergarten talent show? And Shin Nayeon, don't you have work to do? From now on, you may only enter my office if you have actual business. In response, Shin Nayeon took a selfie with Koru. I do have business right now. I've decided to become Koru's hunter talent scout. When Julin's head was buzzing, she handed Koru a piece of paper. Read she letters on this for me. Seeing she first letter was A, Koru thought for a long time before asking, does this mean apple? When Julin, expressionless, said, you've been eliminated, Koru couldn't believe it and collapsed onto Chi desk. His hunter interview was over before it even began. Shin Nayeon scolded Wen Julin for being too harsh on a child. Koru's eyes filled with tears. I haven't learned that yet. But my teacher said that once Koru learns something, Koru can learn anything. Shin Nayeon shot Wen Julin a hostile look. Wen Julin relented and tried to console Tishi child. There should be something kids like to eat on Tishi first floor. After that, Koru was sent back to Tishi kindergarten. She was upset about messing up Tishi interview. And Wen Julin had made it clear she wouldn't be joining. But at least he'd scored a nice pack of cookies. Just then, a message came through on his phone. Someone wanted to buy healing potions. Koru crawled through a hole at Tishi school and into his secret base. This was where she crafted his potions. After packing everything into his bag, she sent Chi stuffed bear on its way via remote control. As soon as it arrived at Teshi designated meeting spot, she saw Chi customer being accosted by someone. You're here for illegal trading, aren't you? Let me see your hunter's license. It was then that Koru noticed Chi person's uniform looked exactly like Chi police on TV. Realizing she could be sent to jail if caught, Koru turned and ran. Tishi officer spotted him and called for backup on Tishi radio. At that moment, Tishi director of Tishi Awakener Management Bureau was scolding Wen Julin. How many times do I have to tell you? Stop entering unregistered dungeons. But Wen Julin, wearing an eye mask, ignored him entirely. Then his phone buzzed with a nearby alert. A suspect engaged in illegal Awakener goods trading was fleeing Tishi scene. Wen Julin opened his car door and headed straight for Tashi location. Just as she stopped, a stuffed bear on a children's tricycle rolled right past his feet. Confused, Wen Julin made a phone call to confirm Tishi suspect's description. Only then did she accept that Tishi stuffed animal was Tishi suspect. She grabbed Tishi bear, but it seemed like an ordinary toy. As it turned out, Koru had severed Tishi connection at Tishi critical moment. She should have disconnected Tishi moment she spotted Tishi police. It looked like Tishi bear had been caught by someone, but who? Suddenly, a large hand grabbed Koru. It was Wen Julin. Seeing that it was Han Koru, his face filled with disbelief. Koru, seeing Tishi chairman, cheerfully greeted him. When Julin looked around, she had tracked Koru here by following Chi residual magic on Chi stuffed bear. Han Koru, be honest with me. Does this stuffed bear belong to you? Koru excitedly hugged Chi bear. It's Koru's! Thank you for bringing it back, chairman! Noticing Chi chairman staring at him strangely, Koru belatedly realized what was going on. Wen Julin then activated his SSS rank skill, Internal Interference, which allowed him to see another Awakener's abilities. When she saw Chi L-grade legendary skill, his eyes went wide. Han Koru was without a doubt a genuine S-rank Awakener. Afterward, Koru obediently apologized to Wen Julin. So Chi reason you wanted to join strings was to conduct illegal trading and evade taxes? Koru didn't understand a word, but his teacher at Teshi Nursery had told him apologies should be sincere, so she nodded. Thinking she might be sent to Chi police station, Koru held out his phone. Chairman, please take all Chi money. Koru can earn more. Are you trying to bribe me? Koru nodded again. But if you give me your phone, how will you make money? I'll buy another one at Tishi Flea Market. Wen Julin returned Tashi phone. It was already 10 at night, well past Koru's bedtime. With no other choice, Wen Julin sent Koru back to sleep. And she too agreed to talk about everything at Chi next day. After Koru left, Wen Julin felt overwhelmed. Illegal trading by an Awakener was one thing, but a parentless kindergarten S-rank Awakener was an entirely different problem. If exposed, Koru would be placed on a national pedestal. only to be tempted and ruthlessly exploited by adults and their cunning power games. What Hankoru needed was a guardian. But was it really his responsibility? And even if she took Tishi child in, did she have Tishi ability to raise him properly? Next day, when Jillian stood outside Tishi kindergarten, still deeply conflicted. Perhaps finding a good adoptive family would be Tishi's better decision, one she wouldn't regret. Just then she heard a commotion inside. A boy and his group were mocking Hankoru. "Your hair color is so weird. No one would ever want to adopt you." Koru's small hands clutched his clothes tightly. "Koru loves Tishi hair that mom and dad left behind." "So what, is anyone going to adopt you?" Koru's tears dripped one by one. "Once I open a bank account, I'll be able to find my mom and dad." At that moment, a reassuring shadow fell over Koru. Wenjulin scooped him up in his arms. "I'm adopting Hankoru." Koru stared blankly at Tishiman, unable to believe what had just happened. Other children recognized Tishiman as Tishi #1 hunter, Wenjulin, and crowded around. School director, hearing Tishi commotion, hurried over. "You're Tishi director? Nice to meet you. I'm here to take my child home." As soon as Tishi words left his mouth, Tishi system confirmed Tishi Guardian quest was complete. From that day forward, Chairman Wenjulin officially became Koru's guardian. On his last night at Tishi kindergarten, Koru was too excited to sleep. Tishi chairman said she would come to pick him up tomorrow, and she had also signed an adoption agreement with Tishi director. That meant Tishi chairman was Koru's father. But then memories came flooding back. Koru had been adopted once before, but Tishi couple later had their own child, and Koru was returned. Remembering this, Koru pushed Chi thought away. Chi Guild chairman wasn't really his father. She adopted Koru because Koru was an S-rank awakener, not because she genuinely wanted a child. So even if she wasn't a real father, it was fine. Next day, Koru packed his things. Wenjulin weighed Tishi bag and found it pitifully light. There would be a lot to buy. After Koru waved goodbye to everyone at Tishi kindergarten, Wenjulin drove him home. Chi's seatbelt was far too loose for Koru, so Wenjulin made a mental note to buy a child's car seat. Koru gazed at Tishi car's interior with curiosity. If Koru becomes a chairman, will Koru also earn enough money to buy a car like this? She imagined becoming Tishi's strongest hunter, gaining wealth and fame. Then she remembered his quest reward hadn't been claimed yet. It was an S-rank passive skill. Koru couldn't quite understand it, but since it was S-rank, it had to be something good. Chi system then confirmed Wenjulin as his primary guardian. But what were these filial piety points? Another prompt explained that Tishi active skill of filial piety was healing, which could replenish a guardian's magic power, and Tishi filial piety points could be used as growth resources. Koru eagerly checked his points balance. It read 0. His mood crashed instantly. Wenjulin found it strange. What was Koru fiddling with? "I'm a guild member now, right? Koru can protect Tishi chairman. In that case, there are a few rules. First, no illegal trading. As a guild member, this rule must be followed no matter what. You can sell your goods through Tishi Hunter Market, but Koru can't register as a hunter. I'll handle Tishi Hunter registration. Once you're listed, you can trade items anonymously. So from now on, no more illegal trading, understood?" Koru agreed and even offered to pay a generous commission. Moment Tishi words left his mouth. Wenjulin pinched Koru's cheeks. Chi's second rule is no bribing. Koru didn't understand. Didn't Tishi chairman like money? She had clearly learned this at kindergarten. If someone says no, just offer them an amount of money they can't refuse. Chi kindergarten teacher proclaimed innocence, insisting she'd only taught them how to play a banking game. Looking at Tishi chairman's face, Koru made up his mind. She would absolutely express his gratitude in a way Tishi chairman couldn't refuse. Everyone assumed she was just an ordinary kid in kindergarten, crying when she wanted to be held, needing to be coaxed when she was hungry. But no one knew his true identity was that of Tishi rarest S-rank awakener. Not long ago, Wenjulin brought Koru home to his new place. Moment they walked through Chi door. Koru was beside himself with excitement. Chi television was even bigger than she was. Then Koru noticed his tricycle sitting by Tishi balcony. Chi chairman must have brought it back along with Tishi stuffed bear. With that in mind, Koru decided to express his gratitude in Tishi most respectful way she knew. She planted his hands on Tishi floor, kicked off, and did a handstand. Wenjulin rushed to stop him. "What are you doing?" Upon learning this was Koru's unique way of showing gratitude, Wenjulin declared all such dangerous behavior was to be prohibited from now on. Koru puffed up his cheeks in frustration. Why was everything she did being forbidden? Afterward, Wenjulin laid down 3 rules for Koru. No doing anything dangerous, no opening Tishi door for strangers, and eat properly. She then brought Koru to his room. Moment she set Koru down, little one was spinning around exploring every corner. Room even had its own bathroom. Koru asked Tishi chairman to lift him onto Tishi sink. then squeezed some soap and started scrubbing his hands. When she was done, Koru showed Chi Chairman his clean little hands. Chi Chairman should wash his hands when she comes home too. Then Koru squirted foam onto Wenjulin's hands and scrubbed them carefully, not missing a single gap between his fingers. Wenjulin couldn't help but laugh. Koru looked just like a raccoon washing its food. After finishing one hand, Koru reached for Chi other, but Wenjulin quickly hid his left hand behind his back. Koru guessed Tishi Chairman's left hand held some kind of secret, and hoped that someday Tishi Chairman would tell him about it. Tishi next morning, Koru woke up and Tishi soft. Large bed tempted him to lie down a bit longer. But Tishi next moment she threw off Tishi covers. Koru was a child with strong self-discipline. Teeth and face first. Just then, Tishi system issued a temporary quest. Help Tishi Guardian complete his morning routine and earn 100 devotion points. So Koru ran to Wenjulin's room. Morning sunlight streamed over Tishi Man, his breathing steady and deep. Koru called out softly, but Tishi Chairman didn't respond. Just as she was about to call again, Wenjulin's expression shifted slightly. For an instant, a pair of golden eyes appeared before Koru, but they quickly returned to their normal color. Koru wondered if she had imagined it. How did you just wake me up? Koru leaned in to demonstrate, whispering into Wenjulin's ear. Like this, Chairman, please wake up. Wenjulin smiled. Why are you speaking so softly? Because Chi room is so quiet. With that, Koru pulled back Tishi covers and dragged Wenjulin to help him brush his teeth. By Tishi time, Tishi 2 were in Tishi bathroom. Tishi quest was complete. Koru was thrilled. If just brushing teeth earned that many devotion points, then getting a few more guardians would make him Tishi's strongest hunter in no time. Just then, there was a knock at Chi door. Koru opened it and a man burst in, frantic. Seeing Tishi seen before him, she couldn't believe his eyes. Chairman, what's gotten into you? You normally have to fight someone every morning before you'll get out of bed. Koru recognized Chi Man. His name was Yoon Seojun. Chi one who had driven him back to kindergarten Chi first time. Koru proudly waved his little hand. Koru woke Chi Chairman up. Yoon Seojun quickly checked if Koru was hurt. An irritated Wenjulian interjected, Enough talking. If you don't want to get fired, get back to work. So Yoon Seojun took Koru to a department store. His assignment for Tia Shi Day was to help Koru pick out clothes. Koru blushed at Chi compliments. Wenjulin looked over too, a smile crossing his handsome face. You look a lot nicer. Koru happily patted Chi Chairman's coat. Chi Chairman looks very handsome too. Shopping done, Wenjulian picked Koru up and prepared to leave. Next was getting Koru's hunter license. Before long, they arrived back at Tishi Strings Guild. Everywhere Koru went, people couldn't help but stare. After all, this was Tishi child Tishi Chairman had publicly announced adopting on a social media site, and Tishi child was adorable. Before she knew it, Koru's bag was stuffed full of snacks from Tishi Guild members. Koru thought that if she stayed at Strings, he'd surely find his next guardian in no time. But today she had something more important. When officially registering at Tieshi Awakener Center, Koru needed to conceal his true power, downgrading his S rank to A rank. Chi Chairman had warned him that if she registered as S rank, Koru would be targeted by all sorts of bad people. She thought of being Chi only Awakener hiding his true strength. Made Koru feel like a protagonist straight out of a TV show. Just as Koru was heading back to Tishi Chairman's office, she spotted a man lingering by Tishi door, holding a sharp sword. Koru couldn't help but suspect Tishi Man was an enemy of Strings. He'd often seen online that Tishi Chairman had too many enemies and kept trending on social media because of it. Chi Teacher had even said, Koru also found Tishi Chairman a bit unapproachable. His kindergarten teacher had always taught them to get along with everyone. Maybe Tishi Chairman had never attended kindergarten. Koru made a mental note to bring Tishi Chairman along next time to sit in on a lesson. Regardless, Koru was determined to protect Tishi Chairman. She crept toward Tishi Man, only to see Tishi Stranger slash his own wrist with Tishi sword, blood pouring out. Koru screamed, "Don't!" and ran toward him. Tishi Man grabbed Koru and lifted him up, but Koru kept shouting, "Don't do that!" while pointing at Tishi Man's wrist. But when she looked again, there was no wound at all. Koru checked repeatedly in disbelief. Tishi Man smirked. "It seems you've seen something you shouldn't have." Koru shook his head frantically. "Are you sure you want to lie?" Hearing this, Koru struggled even harder. "Koru doesn't taste good at all." Tishi Man set Koru down. Koru stared at him and realized She Person wasn't an enemy after all. Tishi Man had already guessed Koru's identity and studied him with interest. "I didn't expect such a little kid to be A rank." As it turned out, an Awakener had just hijacked a fuel truck and threatened She Police that he'd blow it up if they came any closer. She Police had no choice but to pull back and request Awakener assistance. She one dispatched was S-rank hunter Ki Tuan. Sending an S-rank hunter for such a minor incident was nothing unusual for Tishi Police, since that guild was known for its whoever's free helps out principle. Haituan hadn't taken Tishi low-level criminals seriously at all, and was even texting Wenjeline on his phone. When she learned that Tishi chairman had adopted a kindergarten A-rank awakener, his interest was instantly piqued. A swift flash of purple light, and she criminal lost all ability to resist. Haituan poked Koru's little cheek. You really are as cute as Shin Nayeon said. But why did you try to save me? Koru pulled a few potion bottles from his bag and handed them over. This is my bribe. I specially picked Tishi sweet strawberry flavor for you. Haituan nearly lost his composure. So you're trying to get me to let you off Tishi hook? Well then, let me see just how good this bribe is. She opened his system and scanned Tishi potions. When she saw their attributes, his eyes went wide. Could Koru actually be a crafter-type awakener? Crafter-type awakeners were in a league of their own when it came to rarity. There was currently only one S-rank crafter in Tishi's entire world, and every S-rank item they produced was sought after globally. And now, this kindergartner was Tishi's second S-rank crafter. If this leaked, it would cause a national uproar. Haituan now understood why Wenjulin couldn't simply stand by. She was about to carry Koru to Wenjulin for rank testing when Koru suddenly spoke up. Are you Kitwan? Only Tishi chairman Nayeon and Kitwan are part of this plan. Kitwan was pleased that Koru recognized him. So how did your chairman describe me? She chairman said Kitwan is a powerful hunter. But she also said you're a lunatic and to keep my distance. Suddenly a system panel appeared above Kitwan's head. If Koru raised his affinity, she could register Kitwan as a guardian. But Koru had no such plans for now. She wasn't Tishi type to just fill slots with anyone. Koru then asked Kitwan about Chi wrist incident earlier. It turned out to be Chi penalty of Kitwan's skill. Chi greater Chi restrictions she imposed on himself, Chi stronger his power became. Then why were you using it right in front of Tishi chairman's office? Because I wanted to take over his position as Tishi #1 hunter while she wasn't paying attention. Koru was stunned. This guy had to be joking. Could you please stop using that skill in Tishi future? It looks really painful. Haituan refused. No way, I still want to get stronger. But because of you, Koru, I've decided to give up today's challenge. Koru's spirits soared. So that means Koru protected Tishi chairman. With everyone now assembled, Koru's next stop was Tishi Awakener Center. Everyone assumed she was just an ordinary kindergartner, never suspecting that his true identity was a rare S-rank awakener. And to help Han Koru conceal his rank, Wenjulin revealed his own power for Tishi first time. Earlier, Shin Nayeon had taken Koru to Tishi Awakener Center. Chi receptionist confirmed multiple times in disbelief. This 4-year-old really needs to be registered. Koru smiled and nodded, instantly melting Nishi receptionist's heart. So what does Koru's skill do exactly? Koru's ability is that when attacking with a weapon, it makes Tishi opponent feel more pain. In that case, could you try using your skill on me? Reluctantly, Koru tapped her lightly with a toy. A sharp sting made Tishi receptionist flinch. Koru quickly apologized. Did I hurt you? When she learned as she was fine, Koru sighed with relief. Tishi receptionist then led Koru to Tishi testing room. Koru was quite nervous. Shin Nayeon patted his head, telling him not to worry because Chi people here would handle things. Following instructions, Koru stepped into Tishi testing device. As beams of light scanned his body, his abilities appeared on the Chi computer screen. Suddenly, Tishi Detection Center sounded an alarm. A monster had escaped from Tishi Dungeon Ecology Wing, and all hunters in Tishi Center were needed to help contain it. While everyone rushed to respond, Shin Nayeon and Koru remained completely unaffected. Wenjulin was watching quietly from Tishi doorway. Chi monster Kitwan had released was a stone rock dragon, a creature of low intelligence that was easy to capture. Wenjulin silently praised Kitwan's work. Once everyone had left, Wenjulin approached Chi computer. All Tishi test data was displayed. Koru was a legendary grade S-rank awakener without question. Wenjulin then activated his SSS rank skill, internal interference, and altered Tishi data. By Tishi time, Tishi Center's staff returned. Wenjulin had strolled out through Tishi front door as if nothing had happened. But she happened to overhear several people mentioning team leader Kim. She only person who could have subdued a B-rank monster inside Tishi Detection Center that quickly was Tishi S-rank hunter who had defected back from overseas, and his skill had created a vulnerability in Wenjulin's plan. Meanwhile, Koru sat alone in Chi waiting room feeling uneasy. Shin Nayeon had been called away by Tishi Center's staff, and Chi alarm had stopped sooner than Koru expected. She couldn't help but worry that his abilities had been exposed, and that bad people would start watching him. Just then, Chi waiting room door opened. Thinking it was Shin Nayeon, Koru hugged Chi person's leg. Koru waited right here like a good boy for you to come back. But she quickly realized something was wrong. Looking up, she saw an unfamiliar man. I'm not your big sister, but you can call me Uncle Kim Seon. Koru was startled and scrambled under a bench. Mister, you're not here to watch Koru, are you? Kim Seon rubbed his hands awkwardly. I just wanted to check if Tshi waiting room was safe. I'm not a bad person. I work at TSE Management Bureau here. Seeing that Koru still didn't trust him, Kim Seon pulled out a handful of candies from his pocket, only to accidentally drop them all on Tshi floor. Watching this, Koru slowly lowered his guard. She wasn't sure if Chi Man was a bad person, but she seemed more like an incompetent adult. While Kim Seon fumbled around, Koru picked up Tshi candies and handed them back. Kim Seon scratched his head sheepishly. You don't like red ginseng-flavored candy? I guess I really don't understand kids' taste. Although Koru had no idea what red ginseng was, she politely said she liked it. Then feel free to eat as many as you want. They're all red ginseng flavor. Koru thought this man was a bit hopeless, but still kind-hearted. She smiled and thanked him. Kim Seon was struck hard by Koru's cuteness. At that moment, Tshi's system popped up a potential guardian window. Koru couldn't believe it. This clumsy man actually had S-rank awakener power? Then Shin Naeun rushed in, hugging Koru and apologizing for being late. Koru had missed her too, but he'd been good and stayed put. After fussing over Koru for a while, Shin Naeun finally noticed Kim Seon and asked who she was. Kim Seon introduced himself as TSE team leader of TSE Management Bureau's Special Investigation Division Group 1. She then formally apologized for Chi incident. Shin Na-aeon said it was no problem since they hadn't even seen Tshi monster. She'd heard an impressive person had handled it. That must have been him. Kim Seon nodded. So, are you here at Chi Center for retesting today, Miss Naeon? Shin Naeon glanced at Koru. It was this adorable little child who was Tshi Awakener. As they spoke, she also sensed that perhaps this child was hiding something. At Tshi same time, Wenjulin was monitoring every move in Tshi waiting room. Just as she feared, things were getting complicated. And since Tshi other party was from Tshi Management Bureau, she couldn't act directly. Was having a child this talented really a sin? With that thought, Wenjulin removed Tshi glove from his left hand. Chi system announced, Tshi ruler of Chi 99th floor frozen realm has awakened. Energy began gathering in his left hand, and his pupils shifted from black to gold. She placed his hand onto Tshi wall and activated Tshi skill, Finger of Silence. In an instant, every computer in Tshi Detection Center went down, and even Tshi Awakener's skills suddenly stopped working. As Kim Seon ran to investigate, she noticed Wenjulin nearby, but Xi's situation was too urgent to stop and question him. Shin Na-aeon and Koru came out of Tshi waiting room. Seeing Wenjulin, Koru reached out for a hug. Wenjulin's lips curved upward. Chi child was like a clingy puppy. Han Koru, were you well behaved? Did Chi registration go smoothly? Na-aeon said Koru is A rank. Noticing Koru was eating something, Wenjulin asked what it was. Koru chewed and answered, it's red ginseng candy. It tastes a bit strange. Maybe so, but children shouldn't eat things from strangers. Wenjulin then took Koru's hand to head home. Koru was surprised to see Tshi chairman wasn't wearing his glove. When Tshi chairman made a hushing gesture, Koru wondered what she had done. Little Koru had no idea how great a price Tshi chairman had paid to keep his rank hidden. Shortly after leaving Tshi Awakener Detection Center, Koru was puzzled about why Tshi chairman had taken off his glove. Was it related to Tshi plan to hide his power? Koru tugged at Wenjulin's sleeve to ask, but noticed Tshi man's breathing was rapid and she was drenched in cold sweat. Koru frantically pulled out his phone to call for help, but Wenjulin took it from him. I'm fine, Koru, go wait in your room. Moment Chi words left his mouth, Wenjulin collapsed on Chi's spot. Koru's face went pale with fear. Fortunately, Yoon Seojin arrived in time and helped move Wenjulin to bed. Seeing Tshi chairman remain unconscious, Koru's tears wouldn't stop flowing. Yoon Seojin comforted him, saying Tshi chairman was just sleeping, and while wiping Koru's tears, told him Tshi chairman's story. 2 years after Tshi First Awakeners appeared in Tshi world, a tower suddenly materialized. Countless monsters poured from within. Despite Tshi Awakener's fierce resistance, they couldn't stop Tshi Tower's expansion. It was during that desperate time that Tshi chairman became Tshi hero who led everyone in Tshi fight against Tshi monsters. They followed his lead through every hardship, though many companions were lost along Tshi way. When they reached Tshi Tower's 99th floor, Tshi gap between them and Tshi monsters was enormous. So Tshi chairman made a decision. She would seal Tshi 99th floor's monster within his own body and demanded that everyone leave him behind in Tshi Tower. That monster remained sealed in Tshi chairman's left hand to this day. It took them 3 more years to finally conquer Tshi Tower. Now Tshi monster continuously drained Tshi chairman's power. If she used too much at once, she would collapse from exhaustion. For Tshi chairman, all she needed was to sleep until she recovered. So Koru shouldn't worry too much and should go to his room and rest. After all, this had happened several times before, but Koru was too worried to leave. She chose to stay in Tshi room with Tshi chairman. Do you know about when Tshi chairman will wake up? Yoon Seojin vaguely said it might take 2 nights. But she was really saying this to comfort Koru. Tishi last time Tishi chairman had removed his glove was a year ago, when she single-handedly prevented a dungeon explosion and saved tens of thousands of lives. Chi Price was sleeping for an entire month. Although this time might be different, Yoon Seojin didn't want Koru to be devastated. Just then, Koru's phone rang in Tishi living room. It was from Tishi Awakener Center. Inside Tishi room, Koru watched Tishi unconscious chairman with growing anxiety, pressing his small body as close to Wenjulin as possible. This was the first time Koru had seen Shi chairman in such pain, and she desperately wanted to do something. At that moment, Shi system displayed a quest window. She could use his skill, Healing Hands, to care for his guardian. Completion reward 500 devotion points. Hope surged through Koru. With just his little hands, she could continuously replenish Tishi chairman's energy. Koru would give it everything she had. After what felt like an eternity, Wenjulin woke up. During his sleep, she had dreamed of comrades who had once fought alongside him, while she returned to reality as Chi's sole survivor. Facing reporters' questions, his heart was heavy. Truth was, they had never actually conquered Chi Tower's 100th floor. Han Koru was clinging to Wenjulin's arm and wouldn't let go. Han Koru, please get up. Koru shook his head and held on tighter. Wenjulin was at a loss. She was afraid of hurting Koru but couldn't use force. When Koru started crying again, Wenjulin had no idea what to do. His knowledge of children was severely lacking. His only method of comforting a child was feeding them. But this wasn't raising a pet. Wenjulin apologized to Koru, saying she hadn't explained things properly. Uncle Yoon Seojin already told me. Chi Chairman's power has leaked out, and she needs to sleep to recover. So please go back to sleep, Chairman. Koru will try even harder. It was then that Wenjulin realized that perhaps simple reassurance was what Koru needed most. Koru, are you crying because you're worried about me? I just ran into someone annoying at TSE Detection Center and used that power to get rid of him. So don't blame yourself. Aren't you supposed to be an elite little chick? Even so, you shouldn't have made yourself sick. Wenjulin patted Koru's head and promised it wouldn't happen again. She had assumed that adopting a child only required providing food and shelter. Clearly, she had oversimplified things. Still, after being unconscious for so long, it was natural for Koru to be worried. But when she checked Tishi date on his phone, she couldn't believe it. She had only been asleep for less than a day. She asked Koru what medicine had been administered. Koru held up his little hands. I used my healing skill. After Tishi chairman passed out, Koru woke him up easily. What's Chi's skill's penalty? Is there any discomfort anywhere? Learning that Koru had experienced no side effects at all, Wenjulin was increasingly baffled. How could there be an ability that replenished so much power in such a short time? In that case, Koru, you must keep this a secret from everyone. Koru didn't understand at all, but nodded anyway. Wenjulin felt a bit exasperated. She had no idea how other parents communicated with their children. But truly, thank you, Koru. This time, Koru understood. His eyes lit up with excitement. Did Koru actually help Chi Chairman? Then Koru is a useful hunter to Tishi Chairman from now on. When Wenjulin stepped out of Tishi room, Yoon Seojin, who had been on Tishi phone, was stunned. Chairman, what happened? You woke up so early this time. We'll talk about that later. Who were you just on Tishi phone with? It turned out that starting last year, Tishi Awakener Management Bureau had enacted a new law. Regardless of rank, every hunter needed to complete a dungeon run to receive their license. Wenjulin naturally didn't want Koru to take any risks, so she demanded Chi Bureau Director grant him a special exception. He's a kindergartner, after all. Surely Chi Director can at least give me permission to enter Chi Dungeon with him? But according to what Koru had learned online, hunters couldn't enter dungeons more than 2 ranks below their own level. Despite Tishi Director's firm refusal, Wenjulin persisted. Then just strip me of my S-rank hunter status so I can go in. In Tishi End, Chi Director agreed to let Wenjulin hire a bodyguard for Koru, someone who specialized in escorting low-level hunters through dungeons. Koru was thrilled. She was finally going on his first dungeon run as a hunter. Koru was about to enter his first dungeon, and his protective father pulled out all Tishi stops to keep him safe. She brought in Kitwan to teach Koru how to avoid monsters. Had colleagues purchase all manner of protective gear from crash pads to knee guards, and even included legendary grade items for extra safety. Wenjulin then reminded Koru to never follow strangers, and to use Tishi teleportation array if she encountered danger. She emphasized that escape items were extremely rare. Even Kitwan had only seen them a few times at auction. Soon it was time to gather. Koru changed into his stuffed animal costume, which served as both protection and warmth with hand warmers stuffed inside. Together with Koru's pliers, they made Tishi spicy combo. Wenjulin personally escorted Koru into Tishi Dungeon. Chi team leader was an A-rank hunter named Li Hyangwa. Since she was being paid for this, she would solo all Tishi monsters. while everyone else waited in Tishi Safe Zone established by Tishi Management Bureau. So Koru stayed in Tishi Safe Area with 3 other women. They were all relieved to have such a team leader, and their nervousness vanished instantly. It felt more like visiting a snow mountain theme park. One of Teshi women even took out snacks to share. After giving portions to Tishi other 2, as she hesitated before looking at Koru. Koru was nervous, thinking there might not be any left for him. But Tishi girl handed over a treat. If you can't eat it now, you can take it home. Koru thanked her politely, then opened wide and popped she treat right in. It was soft, sweet, and delicious. Just as Koru was thinking about bringing something next time as a return gift, she felt a strange, unsettling sensation from behind. Koru had learned that this feeling occurred when touched by magical energy released by mushroom-type monsters. But she was in an F-rank slime dungeon. Suddenly a portal appeared. The other 3 were completely unaware. With Tishi team leader absent, Koru decided to protect everyone, because she was Tishi's strongest S-rank hunter here. The moment she touched she portal, a powerful force sucked Koru in. When she came to his senses, slime surrounded him on all sides. Koru was terrified and pulled out she teleportation array to escape, only to be told it couldn't be used in a boss area. Koru told himself to stay calm. Chi chairman had said slimes weren't aggressive monsters. As long as she didn't provoke them, she just needed to wait for Tishi team leader to find him. Then something caught his eye. A glowing, beautiful relic attracted Chi little one, and she couldn't look away. But taking it would surely anger Chi slimes. So Koru thought of a plan. If she used Tishi's skill extract to secretly take just a small piece, maybe they wouldn't notice. Using his skill, Koru obtained a small fragment of Mephisto. By gaining ownership, his attack power would increase. This meant Koru's pliers could become a powerful weapon. But when she fused Tishi fragment with his pliers, Chi system declared it a defective product. She only added function was Tishi ability to make snowballs. Koru tried it and it actually worked. She thought it was a great ability. Regardless of Tishi season, Koru could now produce unlimited snowballs. She threw one at a slime, and it shattered into pieces. Koru was ecstatic. She had this kind of power. She attacked Tishi remaining slimes. Before long, she had wiped out every monster in Tishi area. Koru imagined himself one step closer to Tishi throne of Tishi #1 hunter. But just as she was riding his tricycle to leave, a monster's enormous hand silently appeared behind him. Koru seemed to sense something and turned around, but nothing was there. Chi dungeon run was officially complete, and Chi team members thanked their leader. Chi leader found it strange, though. She hadn't even reached Tishi boss area, yet Tishi dungeon had already ended. It was Tishi's first time he'd experienced this, but it shouldn't affect anyone getting their hunter license. Everyone stepped through Tishi portal back to reality. It was pouring rain outside. One team member was picked up by her waiting mother. Watching them walk away, Koru felt a deep pang of envy. It had always been like this at kindergarten, too. Other children had parents who came to pick them up, while Koru could only turn away in silence. But she was used to it now. She could bravely go home on his own. Besides, Tishi's stuffed animal costume was waterproof, so there was nothing to worry about. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. "Where are you going all by yourself? It's still raining." Chi-Man tilted his umbrella to cover Koru completely, leaving his own back exposed to Tishi rain. Koru recognized Chi-Chairman's voice and threw himself into his arms. It was the first time she had ever felt Chi warmth of family. On Tishi walk home, Koru happily shared everything that had happened in Tishi dungeon. Even though Tashi sky was dark and overcast, Koru still believed it was a beautiful day. For Koru, no amount of cold rain could diminish Chi warmth that came from Wen Julin's hand. After getting his hunter license, Koru got a bit carried away, dreaming daily about returning to dungeons. But his protective father absolutely refused to let him face any more danger. That day, Wen Julin was relaxing on Tishi rooftop, when passing guild members congratulated him on Koru's successful awakening. This made Wen Julin a bit puzzled, as she had already lost count of how many times he'd heard this today. She was beginning to feel like Tishi whole world knew Koru was an awakener. When she returned to his office, she found Koru surrounded by a crowd. Koru accidentally dropped his hunter license on Chi floor. Oops, Koru's hunter license fell. Everyone around offered snacks and praised Koru. Wenjelin couldn't bear to watch. For Tishi rest of Tishi day, Koru basked in Tishi joy of having his hunter license. Wenjelin quietly watched from Tishi's side. Koru asked when she could go on another dungeon run, and Chi chairman said they'd discuss it next time. When exactly is next time? When you're as tall as me, so that's 100 meters. Learning that Koru didn't even have this much common sense, Wen Julin was even more determined not to let Koru enter any more dungeons. But Koru had his reasons for wanting to join dungeon runs. As a Strings Guild member, she felt she should build up achievements and contribute to TSG Guild. Wen Julin was taken aback. Where did you learn all this? Koru proudly insisted it wasn't from TV. Regardless, a child doesn't need to worry about performance. Wenjulin took Koru's hand and gave him a watch. Give me your phone. I'll sync Tishi watch to it. Koru's heart raced with anticipation. A watch from an S-rank hunter had to be special. She asked Wenjulin if it was a miracle watch. Wenjulin recalled this was from Koru's favorite cartoon, so she smiled and told Koru to try it. Koru jumped off Tishi's desk, struck a pose, and called out, "Here we go! Miracle watch!" But nothing happened. Wenjulin could barely contain his laughter. Koru, come here and try saying Tishi line again slowly. She, trusting Koru, raised his little hand and tried again. No matter how many times she repeated it, nothing happened. Seeing Wenjulin trying to hold back his laughter, Koru finally realized she had been tricked. Furious, she pounded Wenjulin's chest with his tiny fists. Wenjulin apologized. Koru, what would it take for you to forgive me? Take me to a dungeon. Wenjulin still wouldn't agree. But if Koru just plays all Tishi time, won't Koru get fired? Wenjulin told him not to worry. As a kindergarten student, playing and sleeping well was more than enough. But if Koru isn't useful, will Koru be sent back to Tishi orphanage? Wenjulin froze. What makes you think that? But no matter how she pressed, Koru refused to explain. She didn't want to reveal that he'd been abandoned by a previous family. She hoped that even if she were sent back, she would at least be recognized as a capable child. Seeing that Koru wouldn't give a reason, Wenjulin didn't push further. His instincts told him Koru was hiding an unseen wound. Koru made an excuse and left. Watching his dejected figure, Wenjulin felt guilty. She hoped Koru was just imitating something he'd seen on TV. Normally, she would have been drowsy by now. But every time Koru was nearby, his fatigue noticeably lessened. Wenjulin sighed and dialed Tishi orphanage. Koru left Tishi office, thinking Tishi chairman didn't understand anything. Everyone at Tishi Strings Guild liked Koru, which was all Tishi more reason for him to become a strong and useful child. Suddenly, a system window popped up. Growth effects increased by 50% for 3 days, applicable to party members. Koru immediately decided to find a teammate and enter a dungeon. Then she felt a sharp sting on his neck. She guessed a mosquito had bitten him. Before long, Ki-tuan returned to Tia's office humming a tune, only to find a stuffed bear on a tricycle waiting for him. S-rank hunter Ki-tuan, I offer you a reward you cannot refuse. Will you accept my deal? Before Dashi Bear could finish, Ki-tuan pulled off Koru's headpiece. Koru scowled and put it back on. Can you make a potion that would put you at Tishi top of Tishi hunter rankings? Koru scoffed. Only a fool would want something like that. She moment Tishi words left his mouth. Kai-tuan pulled off Tishi headpiece again. Koru's lip trembled. I don't like you, Ki-tuan. Kai-tuan quickly apologized. So what deal did you want to make? Koru wanted to gain experience from a dungeon, use Tishi materials collected to contribute to strings, and she needed Ki-tuan to bring him along. Seeing Ki-tuan hesitate, Koru added that she had a growth bonus. Just being with Koru would increase growth effects by 50%. Ki-tuan was instantly tempted. If Tishi chairman found out, there would be consequences, so it had to be kept secret. As long as they didn't get caught, nothing happened. So what do you say, Ki-tuan? You're not she kind of coward who's afraid of getting scolded by adults, are you? And so, Tishi 2 agreed to team up for Tishi next dungeon. Before long, Koru and Ki-tuan stepped through a portal into a B-rank dungeon. This was one of Koru's special skills, Tishi ability to enter dungeons anytime, anywhere. Their conquest officially began. Koru started by hitting a snow monster with a snowball, lowering its defense. Ki-tuan followed up from behind, taking it down in a single strike. Just as she was feeling proud, a shadow suddenly blotted out Tishi sky. Another snow monster was attacking from above. Koru's heart leaped into his throat, but Ki-tuan jumped into Tishi air and dodged Tishi ambush, then delivered a devastating blow. Chi's second snow monster was dealt with just as easily. Koru was deeply envious. No wonder everyone aspired to be an S-rank hunter. One day, Koru would become that powerful too. She ran to Tishi snow monster's remains and pulled out a magnifying glass. This tool could identify monster information. Koru found a rare item on Tishi body. If she fused it with Tishi magnifying glass, it might produce something unexpected. But considering it could turn into a defective product, Koru decided to store it in his bag for now. After that, no new monsters appeared for a long time. Since this trip was originally meant for Koru to collect materials, Kai-tuan decided to head straight for Tishi boss area. But another team had already gathered at Tishi entrance, and they seemed to be in Tishi middle of a conflict. Little Koru's secret dungeon trip ended up causing serious trouble. She had originally wanted to contribute more and gain recognition, but instead she accidentally got Ki-tuan badly injured. Earlier, when Koru and Ki-tuan entered Tishi B-rank dungeon, they stumbled upon another squad's internal conflict. A man was demanding 3 women enter Tishi boss area first. One of them immediately started arguing. In a dungeon, this was tantamount to using them as shields to draw monster aggression. But Tishiman felt it was justified. In this world, only Chi Strong had she right to speak. Just as Tishi women were at a loss, Kitwan appeared with Koru in his arms. "Miss, do you need a mercenary?" Kitwan had disguised his appearance using a special item. Although Chi woman found him suspicious, she had no other choice and accepted. Chi moment Kitwan opened Chi boss door. Chi dungeon's guardian monster charged out on its own. Chi men who had been talking tough immediately fled. Kitwan sensed something was off. She entrusted Koru to Tishi women, then tore off his disguise. Everyone then realized it was S-rank hunter Kitwan. Normally, monsters attack Tishi nearest target, but this one kept its eyes fixed on Koru. Kitwan launched an attack to draw its attention. While Kitwan battled Tishi monster, Chi fleeing men had other ideas. If what happened got out, their hunter careers would be over. So, Chi man suggested ambushing Kitwan while she was occupied with Chi monster. Kitwan had just found Tishi monster's weak point when one of Tishi men attacked from behind. Kitwan dodged but felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. After blasting Tishi man away, Kitwan dropped all pretense and activated his skill, Lion's Breath. Everyone around him was drained of power and collapsed to their knees. Kitwan's cold stare sent them begging for mercy. Tishi monster, reading Tishi's situation poorly, attacked again. When Chi trembling man opened his eyes, she found that Kitwan had already ended Tishi monster's life. This was Tishi power of a true S-rank hunter. Just as Kitwan was about to pull his sword and return to Koru, Chi blade suddenly resonated with something. Meanwhile, Koru asked one of Tishi women to set him down. Chi back of his neck felt like it was burning. Chi next moment, a rift tore open in Chi space beside them, and a horrifying monster stepped through. Everyone else had already collapsed in terror, but Koru calmly pulled out his magnifying glass to inspect Tishi creature. She wasn't frightened at all. This was due to Tishi Pliers' evolution. Items parasitized by Mephisto would unlock hidden skills when they sensed their kin. Koru had no idea what kin meant. Chi monster was equally surprised, sensing Tishi aura of a monarch from Koru. This evil monster keeps saying things Koru doesn't understand. Koru threw a snowball at it in frustration, but it had no effect due to Chi monster's high level. Tishi monster found it amusing that a human child could wield Tishi power of a monarch. Just then, Kitwan surged forward and pushed Koru behind him. Koru noticed Kitwan's heart was racing, and his face was filled with hatred. Kitwan told Koru to stay put and charged at Tishi monster alone. She used his skill to keep injuring himself, amplifying his power with each wound. Chi force was so great that Koru lost his footing and tumbled over several times. Tishi impact triggered his smartwatch to share his location with his guardian. But no matter how Kitwan attacked, Chi monster remained unfazed. It felt something familiar about Kitwan's blood. When it noticed Kitwan's sword, recognition dawned, and an evil grin spread across its face. How does it feel to have abandoned your father and run away? Kitwan's attacks grew fiercer and fiercer. She finally found an opening and delivered what should have been Tishi finishing blow. Chi smoke cleared, but Chi monster stood unscathed. I didn't expect to see you again, and you're still just as weak and pathetic. Kitwan had exhausted his last ounce of strength, but this time she refused to run. She forced himself to his feet, only to be knocked unconscious by a sudden strike. It was Wen Julin, running around without permission. These miners are nothing but trouble. She looked toward Koru. Koru was startled, wondering how Chi chairman had gotten here. Chi monster fled Chi moment Wen Julin appeared. Kitwan kept raging about wanting to kill Tishi creature. Wen Julin sighed, leaned down, and whispered something in his ear. Kitwan finally gave in. Koru, watching this, could only marvel at how terrifyingly powerful Chi chairman was. Just as Koru tried to sneak away, Wen Julin blocked his path. Koru decided to play innocent. Wow, it's Tishi Guild chairman. Wen Julin wasn't buying it. I heard you told Yoon Seo-jun you were going straight home. Is this home? Koru's face crumbled. Wen Julin softened and gently reminded Koru never to act on his own without saying anything. Were you hurt this time? Koru said she was fine, then held out his arms. So can Koru have a hug? Wen Julin sighed. She couldn't bring himself to let this child be sad. Then Koru asked about Kitwan's condition. Wen Julin paused. His wound is probably of Chi heart. Once home, Koru dove into his research, wanting to understand why Kitwan had reacted so strangely to Tishi monster. Perhaps it had secretly used some skill on him. She finally found an old news article. Chi monster was Chi one who had killed Kitwan's father, but Kitwan's attacks had been useless. Was Chi monster's defense really that high? If its defense could be lowered, Kitwan's attacks might actually work. Koru pulled out his pliers. Tishi system displayed a window. Spend 500 devotion points to enhance Tishi weapon. Thrilled at Tishi thought of helping Kitwan right away, Koru spent every last point. After enhancement, it upgraded from defective to barely usable. But a hidden skill was also unlocked, a low chance of ignoring Tishi opponents' attacks. With this, where could Tishi monster possibly hide? Koru wanted to see Tishi look of panic on its face. Then his watch phone rang. It was Tishi Chairman. Koru, are you doing okay at home? Let me know if you need anything tonight. Koru was only interested in Kitwan's condition. She vague answer on she other end only made Koru worry more. She should be fine. It's just that she wants to become like me. That confused Koru completely. Was Kitwan trying to poorly imitate Tishi Chairman now? When Kitwan was on the verge of giving up in despair, Koru appeared from above and gave him courage to keep fighting. After Kitwan's defeat by Tishi Monster Marikian, she had fallen into a deep depression. Jin Jongwon, Tishi leader of String's Combat Squad 1, understood Kitwan's feelings, but emphasized that to fight an S-rank monster, she needed to team up with other powerful awakeners. Going solo was suicide. Everyone knows you aspire to defeat Marikian like Chi Chairman did, but you're not him. Even Chi Chairman had teammates back then. Strings is Tishi Nation's best hunter guild. If you're willing, we can defeat Marikian together. Kitwan knew this, but she couldn't accept it. Suddenly, Marikian's voice echoed in his mind. Do you really think you can defeat me alone? Only Kitwan could hear it, and Marikian was nowhere in sight. Then she noticed a mark had appeared on his hand. Kitwan realized Tishi truth. That was why Tishi Dungeon Boss had been fixated on Koru. She Boss must have detected Marikian's presence parasitizing Koru, just like this situation now. I want my sword back from you, and it seems you have business with me too. Kitwan burst into laughter at this. She realized how absurd it all was. Chi Chairman wasn't at Tishi Guild right now, and Marikian was frightened, too scared to even show himself. As a fellow S-rank awakener, Kitwan refused to believe his strength had peaked. She drew his sword and shouted into Tashi Void. If you want this sword back, open your dungeon. She stepped through Tishi portal alone. Facing his old enemy, Kitwan wasted no words and launched his attack. His life had once been completely different. She and his father had bought a house with a swimming pool into Shi countryside, fulfilling his late mother's wish. In their free time, father and son would clean Tishi pool together. But that simple, beautiful life was shattered by a monster. When Kitwan came home from baseball practice, she found Marikian strangling his father. A single look from Chi Monster had paralyzed Kitwan with fear. His father screamed, snapping Kitwan out of it, and Kitwan turned and ran, too terrified to even look back. Koru had learned about this while researching. Kitwan later transformed from a baseball-loving middle schooler into Tishi Nation's 5th S-rank awakener. Koru guessed that Kitwan must carry an enormous burden. Tishi Chairman had said that Kitwan wanted to do everything alone, but being alone would only make him lonely. Koru pulled up his system panel. After Tishi's last incident, she had already registered Kitwan as a guardian. Suddenly, Tishi's system raised an alarm. His guardian was in danger. Meanwhile, Kitwan's battle against Marikian was reaching its end. She had ultimately fallen one move short. Though she was frustrated, she was satisfied. At least she wasn't like that fool from Chi Past who could only run. Just as Kitwan was about to accept his fate, cherry blossoms began falling from Tishi's sky and Koru tumbled out of a portal. She smeared healing potions over Kitwan's wounds. But Chi's priority was escaping Marikian's sight. Kitwan used his skill to create a thick fog, and Tishi too escaped. Koru was about to check Kitwan's injuries when she was met with a scolding. See if you're hurt. Are you out of your mind? Why would you come here? Koru refused to back down. You're Tishi, fool. Why did you come here alone? Isn't Koru your teammate? Teammates should help each other. Koru knows you want to be like Tishi Chairman, but Tishi Chairman said Kitwan is reckless. Isn't reckless just another word for foolish? Kitwan wanted to argue. She hadn't run this time. She had faced Tishi enemy head-on. But what did that prove? Koru told him she knew why Kitwan was doing all this. You can tell Koru anything you want to do, because Koru and you are on the same team. Today, tomorrow, and every day after, Koru wants to have fun together with you. Seeing Koru crying, Kitwan finally gave up trying to face things alone. She promised Koru they would stay together from now on. She slapped his own cheeks to snap himself out of it. She admitted his previous actions were suicidal, but now she had someone worth fighting to protect. She had no idea when Tishi Chairman would arrive. Perhaps running with Koru and buying time was Tishi's best strategy. Koru dumped out his bag. It was full of bottles and vials, none of them useful. Then Koru pulled out his pliers. They could lower a target's defense, boost Tishi wielder's attack, and even directly ignore a kin's attacks. Kitwan was stunned. How can such an unreasonable weapon exist? Koru beamed proudly. Well, is Koru useful? But Kitwan quickly brought him back to reality. Koru's base stats were too low to break through Marikian's defense. Tishi pliers would only work at close range, and Tishi activation chance was only about 8%. That means if I try 100 times, it will work 8 times. Suddenly, violent tremors shook Chi area. Marikian was launching indiscriminate attacks to find them. Pathetic humans, you look so pitiful, cowering in fear. Hai Tuan leaped from high ground. Have you come to beg for mercy or to retrieve Tishi gift your father gave you? Ki Tuan said nothing, his eyes resolute. After preparing every skill she had, his goal this time was a home run. Ki Tuan moved with even greater agility than before. Even Marikian admired his talent, but admiration was meaningless against absolute power. Then Ki Tuan smiled. She launched himself upward, dodging Marikian's attack. Speed and explosiveness had always been his defining traits. She very reason she had been selected as an S-rank awakener. At that moment, a snowball landed on Marikian's head. Looking up, Marikian spotted Koru overhead but paid him no attention. A child wielding a monarch's power was no threat. She raised his sword and struck at Ki Tuan again. Then Koru unleashed every snowball she had been stockpiling, over 100 of them, all at once. System notifications flooded in. Marikian couldn't believe a child had become Tishi's decisive factor in his defeat. Because of their reckless actions, Koru was once again scolded by Tishi chairman. Though Tishi lecture stung, both Koru and Ki Tuan had been exhilarated during Tashi battle. Koru's snowball barrage strategy had made Marikian feel genuine danger. A few more hits and his legendary defense would crumble entirely. But Marikian couldn't spare a hand to deal with Koru, so she could only watch Tishi's snowballs rain down one by one. What she feared finally came to pass. His defense was no longer impenetrable. Worse, his incompetence angered Tishi Monarch, who stripped his power entirely. Without his iron wall, Marikian was no match for an S-rank hunter like Ki Tuan. Chi blade slid effortlessly into his chest. How does death feel? With a roar, Marikian's body was consumed by an explosion, leaving nothing but scorched ground. But there was no satisfaction in Ki Tuan's eyes from slaying his enemy, only peace with Tishi past. She staggered from Tishi effort. Koru had it even worse, collapsing from total magic depletion. Koru had clearly been utterly confident in himself, and thankfully that trust hadn't been misplaced. In his fading consciousness, Ki Tuan finally saw Chi figure that made him feel safe. There was no escaping a lecture this time. Ki Tuan let himself fall and slept peacefully. Tishi life that had been filled with regret and guilt was finally concluded with a perfect home run. Of course, no matter how powerful or highly ranked you were, sometimes you just had to apologize. Before this man, even a supreme being would owe an apology. For their repeated misbehavior, Tishi chairman assigned Ki Tuan to Tishi publicity department. Julin, please don't. Seeing Wen Julin unmoved, Ki Tuan deployed his secret weapon, acting cute. Chairman, isn't this going too far? She had clearly stolen Koru's trademark technique. If you were just a little cuter, I might reconsider. You could kill me and I still wouldn't go. Chairman, Koru feels she same. Before she could finish, Ki Tuan was silenced. Wen Julin stated, "You've been a bad influence on my child. As for Koru's punishment, you're banned from watching TV for 1 week." Koru cupped his face in his hands and shook his head in despair. That single small gesture was more effective than all of Ki Tuan's groveling. But Ki Tuan had one more trick. With a dramatic thud, she collapsed to Chi floor. She was actually resorting to a pity act just to avoid Tishi publicity department. After examination, though, Wen Julin determined it was simply a side effect of power exhaustion. More than Ki Tuan, Wen Julin was worried about Tishi child in his arms. She had called Tishi kindergarten earlier and learned about Koru's history of abandonment. She reason Koru was so obedient and well-behaved stemmed entirely from that experience. A couple had once taken Koru from Tishi kindergarten, only to return him after just 3 months. After that, Koru became exceptionally compliant, having likely blamed himself for Tishi abandonment. In truth, Tishi couple had become pregnant with their own child, and Koru had merely been a temporary placeholder. While there were reasons, Wen Julin's anger was not so easily quelled. Every time she imagined Koru blaming himself, his heart ached. Koru had done nothing wrong, yet she was paying for other people's actions. This made Wen Julin even more protective of Koru. She kept Koru cradled in his arms even when Ki Tuan came to visit. Seeing Koru, Ki Tuan set everything aside and greeted him eagerly. "Did you miss me?" Koru gave a little wave. "A tiny bit? Only that much? That hurts." But from Tishi look on Ki Tuan's face, it was clearly more than just a little. Koru then turned his attention to something on a tablet. Wen Julin explained that hunters needed to study magical knowledge in addition to physical training. Koru, who hadn't learned all his characters yet, asked Ki Tuan what Chi content was about. Instead of answering, Ki Tuan pulled Koru's little hand and struck a series of cute poses in front of Tishi camera. "Isn't she adorable?" Chi classmates in Tishi video unanimously agreed, bombarding Koru with questions. Tishi teacher lectured until his throat was dry, but not a single word had gotten through to them. To avoid disrupting Tishi class further, Wenjulin carried Koru away. Koru thought he'd been scolded for disturbing Chi lesson. But after seeing Tishi Chairman's harmless expression, Koru breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, Kitwan got out of bed and grabbed Tishi Chairman's arm. During Tieshi earlier battle, his weapon had been seized by Marikian, and she wanted Tieshi Chairman's help getting it back. But there was a problem. Nyayan is at Tishi Management Bureau right now handling your unauthorized actions. She hasn't even settled that score yet, and you're already asking me for favors? Still, Wenjulin was curious. Was there anything unusual about Marikian during Tieshi fight? If you're asking about unusual, she never seemed quite right from start to finish. During their conversation, both men suddenly turned to look in Chi's same direction. Before Koru could understand what was happening, Kim Seon walked through Tieshi door. Koru was fond of Tishi Man, who had given him candy and even gave him a friendly high five. But Tishi Chairman and Kitwan weren't as welcoming. So what brings you here? Unfazed by their hostility, Kim Seon replied, I'm here to ask Kitwan a few questions. His expression turned serious. Do you know anything about Gnosis? Koru had never heard Chi name before, but she caught a flicker of unprecedented tension in Chi Chairman's eyes. Chi shrewd Kim Seon had begun to suspect Koru's true rank. This seemingly refined and even somewhat clumsy team leader, who would have guessed she was a second-ranked hunter? Ranking experience could be gained through clearing dungeons and defeating monsters, or through skill usage, though Tishi ladder yielded minimal results. There was a third method, killing other ranked hunters to steal their points. For Tishi previously unknown Kim Seon to instantly climb to second place through dungeon runs alone was something no rational person would believe. His visit was about Gnosis, since Marikian appeared to have been infected by it. But to protect Koru's identity, Kitwan played dumb about Tishi battle details. This frustrated Kim Seon greatly, but Wenjulin wouldn't indulge him. I've already given a full account of Tishi Marikian incident. Why come to Tishi hospital room to ask Tishi same questions? I apologize if this is inconvenient. It is inconvenient. Facing Wenjulin's firm stance, Kim Seon quickly bowed his head in apology. Koru, however, harbored no hostility toward him and even asked about Gnosis. For Kim Seon, who had witnessed Gnosis's terror firsthand, despair was the only word that came to mind. Before Gnosis, S-rank awakeners were like ants easily crushed. It was said to devour a hunter's will to protect others, leaving nothing but Chi instinct to survive. Of course, facing Tishi innocent Koru, Kim Seon simply told him that Gnosis was a very, very bad person. Seeing Koru nod obediently, Kim Seon chuckled, already wanting to pat Chi Child's head, but knowing Chi other two would never allow it. She reluctantly pulled his hand back. Wenjulin turned to Kitwan. He's severely ill and needs rest. Kim Seon got Tishi message. Such an obvious dismissal left no room for lingering. His system also showed that Wenjulin was currently considering how to bury his body. Reading other people's information was one of Kim Seon's skills. After waving goodbye to Koru, Kim Seon stepped outside and summoned an enormous python. Chi SSS rank skill, Barrett's Whisper, was his trump card for rising to second place. Gazing at Tishi Python, she privately calculated Tishi gap between himself and Wenjulin. The fact that Wenjulin alone could disable Chi Detection Center's magic was still a height she couldn't reach. She was now very curious about Koru's true rank, though she estimated B rank at most. Chi earlier one awakened, Chi lower Chi rank tended to be, rarely exceeding A rank. However, Kim Seon had just detected a connection between Koru and Gnosis. This worried him greatly. Chi more exceptional a child was, Chi more likely they were to become Gnosis's test subject. Little Koru had actually been bullied. It started with Koru not wanting to go to kindergarten, which puzzled Wenjulin. Was she unhappy there? Chi people at kindergarten don't seem to like Koru. Wenjulin grew concerned. Whenever we play games, they never let Koru beat Chi Princess. What role do you play? A maid who gets bossed around. Wenjulin was at a loss for words. Don't worry, you can be a princess too. Koru wasn't convinced. She also learned that Koru had once made a model that was destroyed by a classmate named Harry. Though Koru was devastated, Tishi teacher simply made them shake hands and make up. Can't you play with other friends? Harry is pretty, so everyone wants to play with him. Koru doesn't have a mom or dad or nice clothes, so they don't like Koru. Wenjulin's heart sank at Koru's situation. There are lots of dresses at home. Koru will look very pretty in them. Those were nice words, but they couldn't erase Tishi classmates' exclusion. After opening up to Tishi Chairman, Koru also worried. Chi Chairman seemed especially busy lately. A proper hunter shouldn't add to Tishi Chairman's troubles. With that, Koru hopped down from Wenjulin's lap. Chairman, goodbye. Koru is going to team up with Tishi Pillow and Blanket. But Chi more considerate Koru tried to be. Chi more Wenjulin's heart ached. Tishi next morning, Koru woke up groggily and discovered Tishi Chairman who usually loved sleeping in, was nowhere to be found. She searched Tishi entire bedroom and living room with no luck. Had she Chairman grown tired of him after yesterday's complaint and left Koru behind? Chairman, where are you? Just as Koru was on the verge of tears, she found Wenjulin asleep at his office desk. It had been a false alarm. Koru picked up a document from Tishi floor. It contained measures for handling childhood bullying and guides on how to raise a child. Chairman had been up all night, and it was all for Koru. Just then, Wenjulin opened his eyes. Thinking Tishi noise had woken him, Koru walked over and mimicked how adults sootchi someone to sleep. Chairman, be good now. Go back to sleep. I'm already awake. Wenjulin scooped Koru up. Today I'm personally taking you to kindergarten. Being dropped off by an adult was something Koru, who had always been a boarding student, had never experienced. To make sure Koru would be noticed at kindergarten, Wenjulin pulled out all Tishi stops, unleashing his full charm and presence. I'll come pick you up after school. But what about your work? Picking you up is more important than work. Koru nodded obediently. Wenjulin leaned in and whispered in his ear. In my eyes, Koru is Tishi's most beautiful princess ever. If you're unhappy, you're allowed to be angry and to stand up for yourself. But Koru doesn't want to cause trouble for Tishi, Chairman. Wenjulin patted his head. Don't worry, I can handle everything. With those words, Koru had no more reservations. She spread his little arms and burrowed into Wenjulin's embrace. Chairman, I love you. Those words hit Wenjulin's heart like a beam of light. And for Koru, wasn't Tishi feeling exactly the same? Little Koru had never been to an amusement park, so his devoted father decided to fulfill that wish. Not long ago, Wenjulin had been in a company meeting. His stern expression made Tishi's entire atmosphere heavy. The reason for his mood was that Tishi long, tedious meeting was keeping him from seeing Koru. To keep Koru from waiting, Wenjulin ended the meeting early, and as she staff breathed a collective sigh of relief. She quickly opened his phone and Koru's face popped up on Shi's screen. Chairman, Shi's new phone is amazing. During their chat, Wenjulin learned that Koru had made up with Harry, Tishi classmate he'd been feuding with, and they were now good friends. Wenjulin smiled warmly at Tishi news. Then Koru pulled out his art class masterpiece, a drawing titled My Father. Was this really how Koru saw him? But seeing his child's face full of anticipation, Wenjulin couldn't bring himself to dampen that confidence. It's wonderful. We'll frame it and hang it in Tishi's study. Wenjulin could already picture his colleagues barely holding back their laughter at Shi drawing. But as long as his child was happy, nothing else mattered. Koru, have you ever been to an amusement park? No, why? After thinking it over, Shi Chairman said, let's go to Shi amusement park this weekend. I'll take you. Upon arriving, Koru was so astonished she couldn't speak. It took less than a second for him to fall in love with Tishi Place. To avoid being recognized, Wenjulin had layered on several disguises. Seeing Koru this happy made it all worthwhile. Chairman, please take a photo of me. Wenjulin was more than happy to oblige. With each click of Tishi's shutter, his child's smile was captured forever. After Tishi Dinosaur Parade ended, Wenjulin asked if Koru wanted something to eat. No thanks, I'm full. So she pulled out Tishi Park map. Koru pointed at Chi Maze with his little finger. She had a reason for choosing it. He'd seen on a review app that many parents left their children in Tishi Maze and sat in Tishi waiting area to rest. Adults worked all day and needed some time to recharge. When they arrived, Tishi Maze already had a long line. But that didn't deter Koru one bit. How old are you, little one? This maze is for children ages 5 to 10. To think an elite S-rank hunter would be turned away at Tishi door. Seeing his child's disappointed expression, Wenjulin stepped forward and had a brief word with Tishi staff. Koru was quickly allowed in. Chairman, should we go in together? No, you're really something. It seemed Koru would have to go alone. Staff directed Wenjulin to Tishi rest area, where she unexpectedly spotted some awakeners. But she didn't think much of it. If Koru ran into trouble, Tishi child could always call him. As Koru explored Tishi Maze, Tishi treasure she found turned out to be a brown-haired boy. Tishi staff explained that participants needed to find hidden capsules inside Tishi Maze. Koru was extremely confident in his treasure hunting abilities. While other kids were still discussing where to look, Koru smirked. What a bunch of naive children. She rummaged through his backpack and pulled out his exploration tool. She detective magnifying glass. With it, no treasure could stay hidden. Without delay, Koru raised it and began scanning. She quickly spotted a glow on one wall. As Koru approached, Tishi wall slid open to reveal a hidden compartment. Just as she was about to happily claim Tishi treasure, a blonde boy snatched it away first. I saw it first, and I grabbed it first. Using his height advantage, Tishi boy held Tishi capsule above his head, leaving Koru completely helpless. She even mocked Koru for being tiny. Tishi boy's smug attitude made Koru tremble with frustration. But Koru decided not to bother with these kids. She pulled a small tool cart from his backpack and loaded all his equipment into it. She blonde kid laughed at Koru's toys, not knowing that every single one was something hunters would fight over. When Chi blonde kid tried Chi same trick again, Koru turned his attention to Chi women's restroom. Unexpectedly, intense beams of light burst from inside. Following Chi light, Koru entered Chi restroom and opened one of Chi stall doors, discovering that Chi light source was hidden inside Chi water tank behind Chi toilet. Not wanting to get his clothes wet, Koru was about to roll up his sleeves when she realized Chi phone watch Chi chairman had given him was gone. She was in serious trouble. Suddenly, a person in a dinosaur costume entered Chi restroom. Before Koru could react, a hand covered his mouth. As the she dinosaur turned around, Koru was yanked into a stall. A boy wearing a hat looked at him nervously, urging Koru not to make a sound. But Koru was focused on something else entirely. This kid was quite good-looking. She person in Tishi dinosaur costume took off Tishi outer layer and made a phone call. From Tishi conversation, it became clear that Tishi woman was a thief. Could she have stolen his watch while they were taking photos? When they heard Tishi woman leave Tishi restroom, both children finally exhaled in relief. Seeing Tishi boy about to leave, Koru quickly grabbed him. She woman might still be waiting outside. For safety, they decided to stay put for now. She boy's necklace had also been stolen, and she had tracked Tishi thief here. When Koru asked why she didn't tell his parents, Chi boy seemed strongly opposed to Chi idea. I'll get Tishi necklace back myself. Koru asked if it was valuable. Chi boy's expression fell. It was from my mother. Koru wanted to help, but she couldn't contact Tishi chairman. Then an idea struck him. What if Chi thief had hidden everything in Chi water tank? Hey you, I think I know how to get your necklace back. Don't call me hey you, my name is Wooju, SEO Wooju. Just as Koru was about to introduce himself properly, Theo Wooju suddenly asked, are you in Tishi business too? Did this kid think she was a fellow thief? Koru's new friend turned out to be a celebrity. Just moments ago, Koru had been hiding from Tashi thief in Tashi restroom. SEO Wooju had asked, are you in Tishi business too? Koru was completely bewildered. You don't know who I am? Could Seo Wooju be an awakener like him? Have you awakened too? You really don't know me? Well, Koru just started in this line of work recently, I can tell. Being treated as a beginner irritated Koru, so she decided to show off his abilities. She pulled out a triple-blade bamboo dragonfly. With this, I can retrieve what's in Tashi water tank next door without even going out. You're such a child, playing with toys at a time like this. Koru grinned confidently. Just wait and see what it can do. Before Seo Wooju's astonished eyes, Chi bamboo dragonfly slowly rose into Chi air. But then a hand suddenly grabbed it. So this is where you've been hiding. Chi thief's appearance sent both children into each other's arms. As Chi woman reached for them, Koru frantically searched his backpack for a life-saving item. Chi next second, Koru flung a yellow object, and a small chicken hit Tishi woman squarely in Tishi face. Chi terror chicken could paralyze an enemy in place for 10 seconds. While Tishi boss was disabled, Koru immediately fled Tishi restroom. Even after escaping, they stayed on alert. Koru suggested telling an adult right away, but Seo Wooju disagreed. Without evidence, they'll only believe that woman. Children shouldn't use bad words. You fool, that woman is a thief. Koru didn't understand. She only knew that foul language was wrong. Maybe Tishi adults will believe us. Seo Wooju shook his head firmly. They'll just blame you for losing your things. Thinking that losing Tishi watch would upset Tishi chairman, Koru decided to recover it on his own. His clever mind quickly came up with a plan, and she whispered it to Seo Wooju. Will that really work? Koru never lies. Seo Wooju hesitated, but ultimately decided to trust Koru. Just then, two figures blocked their path. What took you so long? Did you find anything? Is that a bad guy? How do you know? Don't they usually look like that? Koru agreed completely. After all, this kid had bullied him earlier. Tishi blonde boy threw a punch, but Seo Wooju dodged it easily. Grabbing Koru's hand, Tishi too left without wasting any more time. A staff member soon appeared, but as she was talking to Chi female thief. Seeing this, both children froze. Chi staff member was working with Chi thief. Just as Koru was about to seek help from a passerby, Chi woman spotted them. There you two are. She look in her eyes made Koru sense danger. But then Seo Wooju took off his hat, and children nearby immediately recognized him. Aren't you Seo Wooju from Tishi TV show Chi King and Tishi Meteor? That's right. It's me. Only then did Koru realize his new friend wasn't a hunter, but a famous actor. To everyone's surprise, little Koru was actually kidnapped. After Seo Wooju removed his hat, fans recognized him and swarmed in. With so many eyes around, Koru couldn't act openly. But she could control his tools remotely to retrieve Tishi stolen items. To stay inconspicuous, Chi woman tried to take Seo Wooju away, but she refused to cooperate. While they were at a standoff, Koru suddenly pointed and shouted, Look at all those treasures over there. His acting was over Tishi top, but it successfully threw Tishi thief off balance. But Tishi blonde boys got to Tishi items first. Tishi moment they touched Tishi items, Chi paralysis skill attached to them activated. Koru's little trick had exposed Chi thieves. But as she was about to leave with Seo Wooju, a stranger appeared behind them and forcibly took both children away. By Tishi time when Julin arrived, Koru was nowhere to be seen. The only way to contact Koru, his watch, was among Tishi items recovered. When Julin grabbed a staff member's radio and began issuing orders to lock down Tishi entire park. If Koru wasn't found, no one was leaving. Anyone who disobeyed would face Tishi consequences. An elderly woman stepped forward and accused him of being unreasonable. It was clear from their exchange that they'd known each other for a long time. But when Julin had no time for pleasantries, she reached Tishi top of Tishi Ferris wheel and scanned Tishi entire park. Even with his senses pushed to Tishi absolute limit, she couldn't detect Koru's presence. She feared his child had been taken by Tishi blonde boy. Chi world's strongest hunter, Wen Julin, had finally panicked. His mind conjured images of Koru being mistreated, a fear that far surpassed facing SSS rank monsters. Having already locked down Tishi Park, she had no choice but to overdraw his power again, instantly monitoring every movement across Tishi grounds while his body's strain skyrocketed. Finally, in a deserted corner, she heard Koru's voice. Two children trapped in Tishi restroom were equally frantic. Chi USB drive that Chairman Nam Jawan had requested hadn't been retrieved. Chi woman asked what to do with Koru and Wooju. Kill them, they know too much. Seo Wooju asked urgently. Do you have any more magical items like before? Unfortunately, Koru had lost them when she was grabbed. She usually stored excess items in his cart, so she was helpless now. Chi man outside, hearing their conversation, slammed Chi restroom door in rage. Chi two children clung to each other, trembling. Even when facing S-rank monsters, Koru had never been this scared. Why was encountering humans bigger than himself so much more terrifying? But as an S-rank hunter, she had to protect Seo Wooju. Don't worry. Koru is really good at sneaking around. At Teshi Orphanage, no one ever noticed when Koru went for walks. But his trembling was just as bad as Wooju's. Just when both were drowning in despair, Koru sensed an enormous energy approaching. Chi two men outside felt it too. Chi entire restroom shook. Two screams followed, and then Wen Julin slowly pushed open Chi door. Koru couldn't hold back any longer. She threw himself out, sobbing. Nothing in Chi world felt safer than Chi chairman's arrival at that moment. Seeing Koru rush toward him in tears, Wen Julin breathed a deep sigh of relief that he'd made it in time. She wiped Chi blood seeping from his ear. Koru, you can't scare Dad like this again. After their brief, joyful reunion, they were noticed by other people at Tishi Park. Tishi combination was simply too eye-catching. Tishi #1 hunter and child star Seo Wooju were impressive enough, but it was Koru, a nobody, whose looks outshone them both. It was then that Koru understood why Chi System had originally asked him to designate a guardian. Being protected by adults was truly something that brought peace of mind. Hearing Koru giggle beside him, Seo Wooju asked, "Is she your guardian?" "Yes, when is your guardian coming, Wooju? I don't know." Before Wooju could finish, a woman pushed open Tishi door wearing an extremely displeased expression. She appeared. She started scolding Seo Wooju. "Ma'am, this wasn't my fault." Seo Wooju then asked She woman for her phone and handed it to Koru. "Give me your number. Thank you for today. I'll call you once I have it." But Seo Wooju made it clear she wasn't asking for Teshi number because she liked Koru, so there was no reason to refuse. "Why would I refuse? Seo Wooju is beautiful and kind, very likable." Those words turned Wooju bright red. "You're talking nonsense again. Anyway, I'm leaving. See you next time, pretty one." She words pretty one shocked Wen Julin. Koru, however, was completely unfazed. Were they really meeting for Tishi first time? That Wooju child is very beautiful, but Ichi mother doesn't seem very friendly. Wen Julin could already imagine Koru being forced to do housework someday. She thought sent a chill down his spine, even she most powerful fighter in Chi world. "Julin," a voice interrupted Wen Julin's thoughts. Who noticed too. This was Chi elderly woman who had wanted his help earlier during Chi emergency. Judging by how she addressed Tishi chairman, she had to be someone important. Through persistent effort, Koru had finally earned his first fortune by selling magical items, and Tishi chairman's support had been essential. Yet even someone as powerful and well-connected as Wen Julin had people she wanted to avoid. Chairman Nam Juwon stepped forward and introduced herself. Koru had heard Tishi name before, as she was Tishi owner of this amusement park. She bowed carefully to greet her. "I heard you caught Tishi thieves. It wasn't just me." Chi chairman and Wooju helped too. "It was all your doing. Wen Julin had nothing to do with it. Those thieves were actually after me. Thanks to you, they didn't succeed. To show my gratitude, I'll give you a gift." Chairman Nam leaned in and whispered to Koru, "Open it secretly at home. I'm afraid Wen Julin would be jealous." After Koru happily accepted, Namjiwan turned to Wen Julin. "I heard you adopted a child. I didn't expect such a cute and well-mannered little one. You're quite lucky." "You don't need to tell me. I've always been lucky." "Your father is doing well. She keeps talking about wanting to see his granddaughter." Wen Julin was completely indifferent. She didn't want to hear a single word about his father. "You're as rebellious as ever. Weren't you she one who said I was born with a stubborn streak?" Nam Jiwon knew as she couldn't persuade Wen Julin. Chi rift between him and his father wasn't new. After Wen Julin's mother passed away, Chi once happy family of 3 had fallen apart. Now that you're a father yourself, you should be able to understand at least a little. She made one last attempt. "Chairman Nam, if there's nothing else, I'll be taking Koru and leaving. If we continue this conversation, I might say something disrespectful. You never used to call me chairman." Nam Jiwon gently tapped Koru's little nose and said goodbye. Koru, appreciating Chi kind woman who had given him a gift, responded warmly, in stark contrast to Chi chairman's cold expression. Nam Jiwon had offered this kind of advice countless times, but Wen Julin's answer was always to Chi same. This piqued Koru's curiosity. Someone as powerful as Shi chairman. What kind of person was his father? Koru had never heard Shi chairman mention his family. Did his father look like him? Could she possibly have a thick mustache? Koru's imagination was too limited to fill in Shi picture, but she deeply envied Shi chairman for having a family. She wondered what being connected by blood felt like. Maybe if she earned enough money, she could find his parents. But then she probably couldn't keep living with Shi chairman and would need to save up for his own place. She thought gave Koru even more motivation to make money. Back in his room, Koru got to work on his recovery potions. She placed crafted magic crystals into bottles, then activated his level 1 crafting skill. Skilled artisan. In no time, Chi little bear bottles were full. Koru was proud of his efficiency, which was all thanks to his crafting skill upgrading from F to E rank, enabling batch production. But that wasn't all. Koru could now craft B rank recovery potions as well. Chi significantly improved effectiveness meant money would flow into his pockets even faster. C rank potions were listed on Tishi Hunter Market. B rank potions were so rare that Koru was reluctant to part with them. But moment she thought about Chi money, Chi reluctance vanished. Shortly after listing Tishi potions, his phone exploded with notifications. What caught Koru's attention was Tishi deposit of 10 million won. This time it wasn't onion points, but real money she could spend. All thanks to Tieshi chairman setting up an account for him. Koru's motivation was soaring. She was determined to create more and more items like these. Chi magical item Koru had painstakingly extracted turned out to be an egg. To help it hatch successfully, Koru decided to become its guardian. She was fully equipped and had been looking forward to this day for a long time. She recently discovered that his pliers could extract star fragments that enhanced power. If she could duplicate Tishi pliers using his crafting skill, his efficiency would improve dramatically. He'd tried before and failed. But this time, she had saved up enough points to upgrade his crafting skill. After Tieshi upgrade, Koru immediately used extract on Tishi pliers. When Tishi's success message appeared, she was thrilled. But Tishi egg that materialized in his hand left him confused. What was this? She rubbed it between his hands, but no item information panel appeared. Koru assumed it was a failure, drank a recovery potion, and tried extracting again. This time a message did appear, but it warned that another attempt might destroy Tishi pliers. After all that effort, he'd only gotten an egg. Koru was deeply disappointed. But then she remembered his kindergarten teacher saying eggs could hatch into chicks. That thought instantly revived his spirits. She breathed warm air onto his little hands and placed them on Chi egg. Maybe with careful nurturing, a cute little chick would hatch. Having a bouncy little creature follow him around everywhere didn't sound bad at all. Then Koru remembered Chi gift from Chairman Nam Jiwon. She opened it and found a glowing stone and a letter inside. Tishi letter explained it was a magic stone left behind by an S-rank monster 10 years ago. Take it to an auction, it should fetch a very high price. Coincidentally, Koru had received a registration invitation from an auction house just days ago. She started wondering how much Tishi stone was worth. If it was 20 million won, that would be even better. Combined with his savings, maybe she could finally find his parents. Koru immediately picked up his phone and contacted Tishi auction house. With everything done, Koru was in a wonderful mood. She happened to see Wen Julin in Tachi living room. Should she tell Tishi chairman about Tishi auction? But Chairman Nam had said it was their secret. Just then, Wen Julin lifted Koru up. Looking at Chi adorable child in his arms, she couldn't resist wanting to pinch those cheeks. But Koru firmly resisted. I'm not a little kid anymore, I'm a mother now. Wen Julin was utterly shocked. Then Koru nervously produced Teshi egg. Did you take that from Teshi refrigerator? Chairman, you don't understand. This is my child. Wenjeline hesitated, debating whether to tell Koru that an egg couldn't become a human, but she didn't want to shatter Koru's fantasy. Yet she instantly his hand nearly touched Chi Egg. An intense wave of cold made him instinctively pull back. Chi Egg in Koru's hands was far more than what it appeared to be.